All right, are we in? Yeah, we in, baby. We in. Let me get the music on. Oh, oh, baby. Good evening to each and every one of you, and welcome to Music Lovers LTD, our live Friday night podcast. Good evening to you. Welcome. We're coming up on the Thanksgiving holiday. We want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I have one rule that I'm going to pass out to you. That is, eat as much as you want to. Don't worry about where you figure. Don't worry about what calories put on. Be happy. Eat as much as you want to. If you get up from the table and you're not full, sit back down. Listen, everybody have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll be saying that toward the show. But tonight, listen, I am so blessed that to be in this business this long and have people that I can call my friends. And I have to tell you that I'm a little bit off because of the fact that this gentleman, I hadn't forgot about him, but we hadn't talked in quite a few years, at least maybe about 7 or 8 years. And we'll get into that more and more. But we talked and we got on the phone. He said, "Man, how the hell are you?" I said, "I'm doing good. How the hell are you?" And we just laughed. So now we have, ladies and gentlemen, the legendary Billy Vera with us tonight. Give him a nice round of applause, if you would, please. My brother, it's so good to see you. And let me start off by saying, and I think I told you this a couple of years ago, you are one of the coolest white guys I've ever known in my life. Really, really one of the coolest. But Billy, first of all, welcome to the show. That's the first thing.
Thank you for having me, Ali.
And I'm going to jump right into this. Tell me the effect that Ray Charles and his orchestra had on you producing or putting together Billy and the Beaters.
Oh, tremendous. Ray, from the first time I heard him when I was doing my homework, listening to Alan Freed, he played a Ray Charles record. And I said, what was that? Because, rock and roll was mostly just loud. But the thing that impressed me about Ray's music is it had dynamics. He did the loud parts and then the soft parts.
Right.
At the proper places. And the only people that did that was like Count Basie did that.
Mm-hmm.
And Duke Ellington did that. But most rock and roll was just like they start up off here and they stay here,
Right.
Not really. So I always, right from the beginning, I said, man, if I start making music ever, I'm gonna try to bear that in mind,
Okay.
So you have more, my saxophone player calls nuanced music.
Okay. It has a flow to it. It has a flow. It's just not all. Well, and the one that we talked about earlier was Little Richard, who was I love Little, but he stayed up here and it was up here. He even rose up a couple.
He sure did, because his crazy self. I remember the first time I was playing I was 11, 12 years old. I'm playing a Little Richard record at home. My father came in there. He said, "You can't understand the words." I said, "You know what, Pop? I understand him."
Okay.
I know what he's saying. I know every word of what he's singing. So
exactly.
But that's the generational thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's what rock and roll, rhythm and blues did for the society. It drew a line between the grown-ups and us.
Yes. Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
We had music of our own.
Yes. Which the older folks didn't care for.
No, and you know what? Later on, they told me, they said, "You think my parents liked our music?"
Right.
Because they were listening to Count Basie or Benny Goodman or whoever,
Right. I'm gonna share with everybody out there in the listening audience. One of our first meetings I had some years ago at WHAT. I did a show on Sam Cooke. And in order for me to get all of it, and you guys know I dig and make phone calls and cross-reference and this, that, and the other, I talked to Little Richard. And Little Richard turned me on to Billy Vera as a historian and that's where I got some of my information from. So from then until now, I still applaud you, my brother. I still do. I really do. I appreciate you. I'm gonna back out a little bit and let everybody else get in here if you would. DD, how you doing?
I'm fine. Good evening, Mr. Vera.
Hi.
Now your resume is outstanding. Okay. Is there anything that you haven't done that you want to do?
There's something that I wish I had done. When I was coming up, tap dancing wasn't cool. We were doing the mashed potatoes. We do. Tap dance. And I wish now I had learned to tap, because
you're not missing anything.
Oh no, I love tap, man. Man, the Nicholas
didn't
brothers,
didn't like it at all.
Stump and Stumpy, and the Nicholas brothers, and Coles and Atkins, and the Berry brothers, man. Yeah, I go on YouTube. You don't like it, huh?
I took tap for 10 years.
Okay.
Didn't like it. I liked the ballet, didn't like the tap.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, I really didn't like tap. I don't know what it was about tap, but it never really enthused me.
Well, I understand that. Some people like Frank Sinatra, some people like Dean Martin,
Yeah, true enough. Yeah. It's a personal preference. It's a personal preference. Wow, that's information we didn't know about Dee Dee. We got to get her to do a little thing for us now. You know what I mean? That's a good question, Dee Dee. That's a very, very good question. Very good question. Very good question. Drew, come on in, bro.
Hey, Mr. Vera. My name is Andrew. You mind if I call you Billy? First off, I mean, you're a legend in this business, but okay. All right. Could you take us back to the beginning of your career? We know you had a band, and you wrote songs while you had your early bands and stuff. And not only your #1 song, but you've also wrote #1 songs for the likes of Dolly Parton, Lou Rawls. Am I correct, sir?
Well, Dolly's the only other #1 I had, but a lot of people. Lou did 7 of my songs. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I produced 4 of his albums.
Oh.
We brought
really?
We brought back his career. Before that, he'd been making what I called Vegas disco sounding records, and nobody was buying them. So Blue Note Records signed him, and then they asked me and Kuskuna to produce him.
Okay. You one of the songs, because I have a lot of his albums. One of the songs, "You Can't Go Home," I believe you produced it or wrote it. Am I correct?
Produced and wrote. And you know who played the guitar solo on that song? George Benson. George Benson.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Man.
And then me and Lou and George sang the background on there.
Okay.
Is that right? Man, you're walking history book, man.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Good question, Drew. Good question. Come on in, Restful.
Yeah, hi, Mr. Billy. I'm Restful Spirit. Ali played your song "At This Moment" last night on Remember Then Radio, yesterday night.
Nice.
And looking back, what do you think the emotional power of your song "At This Moment" comes from? The lyrics or the performance, or is it the context in which the people first heard it?
Wow, that's a good question.
I really listened to that song yesterday when he played it, and it really moved me.
That's a good question.
You want to hear a strange thing? On Facebook, I don't know, several years ago, a woman contacted me, and she said my grandfather wrote a big song too, and she said, and your song and my grandfather's song have something in common. So what was that? She said, well, neither of your songs have any rhymes. And it blew me away, because I never realized that I didn't write any rhymes for that song. I'm a pretty good rhymer when I want to be, but she was right. There's no rhyme in that song. It's like a conversation.
Right.
because it's, you know, yeah, I think to answer your question, I think it's all three of those things. The song is it's a boy loses girl song.
Yeah.
And on the TV show, you know, Family Ties, they played it when Michael J. Fox's character loses the girl.
Right.
So I think what happened, I'm convinced that what happened was the TV audience heard the song in the context of the story line of the show, and it hit them, you know, man. And they started calling NBC. You know, NBC, I was on, the record came out on a company called Rhino Records.
Right.
And Rhino, NBC contacted Rhino and said, man, we got more phone calls than any time in the history of the network for that episode, for that song. You know, like, what's the name of the song? Who's the singer? Where can we find it? Blah, 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 all that. And it was one of those records that it really happened without, you know, promotion. You know, it was like the public demanded it, you know, in a sort of organic kind of way, you know, so like a grassroots record.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. I love it.
It's a great song, man. It's a great song.
Yeah.
I took the good question, Russell. I'm sorry. Were you finished? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. When I played it last night, Billy, I took a moment and of course dressed it up. October the 2nd, 1986 is when it came out with that particular episode, and I explained what happened in that episode and then played the record. Now, for me, it's a great record, no question about it. Not only because you wrote it, but the lyrics in there. When the guy says to the woman, "I would take 20 years of my life," I mean. That is so powerful, man. You know what I'm saying? Feeling the way we did back when we were kids, to say that and mean it and have your heartstrings feel it, that's a very, very, very powerful statement. Powerful statement.
It took me 9 months to get that last verse.
Really?
Yeah. Here's what happened. I had started dating this girl.
Sorry.
Boogie and Bacall kind of relationship, you know. I was 33 and she was 20, and she was telling me about breaking up with her previous boyfriend and how it crushed him, and he was like suicidal and blah blah blah. So I went home. I was living in my mother's house, you know, like any loser musician. And so I'm on my mother's piano. I'm writing the song from what I perceived as his point of view.
Okay.
I'm not writing it from my experience. I'm writing it from what I think his experience.
Right.
Okay.
But I couldn't finish it. I got like verse, second verse, yeah, bridge, yeah. What do I say here? And then when she broke up with me a year later, then I knew what I was saying. I tried to put it into my life. And I knew what it felt like.
Okay.
So that's where people don't understand where songs come from.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, many of the songs we write are, you know, totally fiction.
Right.
You know, you come up like, especially if you're like what I was, a staff songwriter at a music publishing company. They lock you in a room and with a little piano, and the boss comes to the door and he says, "Hey, the Drifters are recording next week. Write something for them." "Oh yeah, Tony Bennett's recording. Write something for him." You know, so you would craft a song to that person's his range.
Okay.
You know, like Shirley from the Shirelles got a range about this much, where Patti LaBelle got a range all the way to the roof.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
You have to craft the melody to that person's ability, and also what they're comfortable singing. You know, some people like comedy songs, some people like tearjerkers, some people like happy love songs. So you put all these things in like a gumbo, you know, and you stir it up in there, and hopefully you come out with a good song that people will want to buy.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Nope, I don't think we've had anybody on yet who is a writer, sort of like yourself, if you will. I mean, a lot of them dabble in writing, but that's what you do. And to explain it in those terms is very, very interesting, like the gumbo and the different ranges and what have you. And like I said, I'm just stuck on that one phrase there. I would give back 20 years of my life, man. That is just so strong to me, so strong. You know what I'm saying?
If
and
I
for you had the experience a little bit.
Said what you just said. Yeah.
What'd you say, Bill?
I said if I had $1 for every time somebody said that about that line in the song, you know, yeah, it hits a lot. It must have hit a lot of people.
I believe so, man. I mean, even now when it's played, you know what I'm saying? Even now. Drew, come on in.
Billy, I want to take you back to 1967. Ooh. And I mentioned that because it appears that you were indirectly a part of history with regards to civil rights. And by that, you performed a duet with a Black female singer by the name of Judy Clay. Could you talk a little bit about that, how the idea was conceived, the resistance, the brushback? Could you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's history making. That's interesting story, sir.
You know, when you do, I'm a sort of a natural kind of person, and I do things as it comes. You know, I don't make a plan to make a civil rights statement. You know, in fact, the song was written without. If you listen to the really words, it's just basically it's an adultery song. You know, these people are in love when one of them's married. You know, it's really about that. Anyway, so I think I was telling you guys, starting to tell you guys about this before we went on the air. I was writing songs with a fellow from the same company named Chip Taylor. And Chip was a great songwriter. He wrote Wild Thing, Angel of the Morning, a big song. Okay. And he was about 4 years older than me. So the first song he and I wrote together was Make Me Belong to You, which was a mild hit for Barbara Lewis. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that became, we went to this, they invited us to the session. And so I got to meet Jerry Wexler, the great boss of Atlantic Records, which was my favorite label in the world. All my favorite artists, the Drifters, the Coasters, Bobby Darin, Ray Charles, you know, Laverne Baker, they were all in Atlantic. So that was a thrill for me. So we went back to the office and we said, let's write a duet. You know, maybe we can get Atlantic, we play it for Jerry, and maybe Atlantic Records artists will record it for us. So we grabbed some girl that, you know, I knew from back home, and we recorded a demo, what they call a demonstration record of it.
Right.
We took it to Jerry. He pounded his fist on the desk, and I'm not going to curse like he did, but he said, man, that is a smash, a #1 record. He said, okay, get rid of the girl and I'll record you on Atlantic Records. I said, wow. You know, that to me, that was like a dream come true.
Sure.
So now I had to find a girl. But at the time, we were playing in a nightclub every weekend where we backed up hit record acts, you know, 2 shows, and then we'd do a dance set. So one of the acts that came up quite often was Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. And I was really friendly with them because their music is really hard to play. Right. And they told us we were the only band on the East Coast that could play their music right. So they liked us. So anyway, Patti wouldn't be right to blend with my voice. So, but one of the girls in the group, Nona Hendricks, had a voice I felt would blend well with mine. So I asked her, I called her up in Philadelphia, and I said, hey, Nona, you want to make a record with me? It's going to be on Atlantic. You guys are already on Atlantic, so there's no contract problems. She said, yeah, I love the way you sing, man. So she came and we recorded the song. Okay. Well, then their manager gets in on the act, and he says, no, He said, if Billy and Nona have a hit, then she'll quit the group. And Patty said, no, let them do it. This way, Billy could be our guitar player, and he and Nona can sing their hit. We can sing our hit. You make more money for the act. But the man was very short-sighted, and he really didn't get it. So we took it to Atlantic. They said, yeah, it's a great record, but now you need another girl. So we auditioned 20 girls.
Wow.
White girls, black girls, every kind of girl you can name.
Okay.
And they all sounded like they should be singing on Broadway shows. You know, they didn't have any soul. So Wexler said, we just signed this girl, Judy Clay. Why don't you give her a listen? So in walks Judy to the office. Now, she looked like she was about 14 months pregnant, you know.
Okay.
In the house. And she had an attitude, eyes are wide open, you know. Because see, Judy came from a very successful family. Dionne Warwick, Dee Dee Warwick, Sissy.
Yeah.
So, but Judy was the only one that hadn't made it yet, and she was kind of bitter, you know.
Okay.
So she left, and I said, man, she sang the hell out of that song. And they said, yeah, but you think you can handle that attitude? I said, man, I got a sister like that. I could handle Judy Clay. Turned out we were very good friends.
That's awesome.
But
That's awesome.
Wow. And you know, most records start getting accepted by the public elsewhere from New York. You know, New York is usually the last place a record comes. Well, our record started in New York. And next thing we know, man, you know, it's like #1 on the black radio stations. It's #3 on the white stations. And we get a call to an invitation to appear at the Apollo Theater, which was one of my 2 dreams, was to be on that stage. You know,
Okay.
To me, that's sacred boards. You know, Diane, you know about stages, and stages have a spirituality. You know, I wanted to be to be asked. So meanwhile, nobody had seen our picture yet. Now, don't forget, this is May 1968.
Right.
1 month earlier, Dr. King got killed.
Right.
So there was a riot going on. They were burning down Newark across the river. So I went in for rehearsal, and the stage manager was Honey Coles, the great tap dancer.
Okay.
And he looked at me and he said, you know, Harlem hasn't seen you yet. He said, but I got an idea. He said, Judy, you enter from stage right, and Billy, you enter from stage left. Let her take 3 steps out from the wings, then make your entrance, and watch what happens. So I said, these old timers, they knew about show business, you know, more than we'll ever know.
Right.
So here come, they're playing our chase music to bring us on down, 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 down. And Judy, I'm watching 1, 2, 3, enter.
Okay.
1,500 people at 10:30 in the morning gasp at the sight of me.
Okay. Wow.
Literally, I could hear him going, that's him?
Hey.
Right. But they didn't know what I looked like, you know?
Right.
But you were accepted by them, right?
I'm coming to that part. Yeah. We killed it. We killed it, man. But he had put us on second, which is not a great spot. You know,
right.
First act is usually somebody flamboyant, a lot of choreography, exciting. Then the second act is usually somebody new, they don't know so good. You know, better star is how you set up a show. So after the first show, he comes up to the dressing room and he says, he says, I'm going to change up the show. He says, I'm putting you all on right before the star. He says, because ain't nobody going to follow you 2 MFs, you know. and so that became our spot. Now, cut to 20 years later. Okay. I was producing Lou Rawls, and Lou had to do a charity thing up at the Apollo So I go up there. He said, "Come with me, man." So I go there, and in the little vestibule in the back by the stage door, where the great sign was still there. Please do not ask for passes for your friends. If your friends won't see you, who will?
Right.
So it was all these. It was like all older men, like shoulder to shoulder, in backstage there. And Ralph Cooper. Do any of you know who Ralph Cooper was?
I don't know that name.
Ralph Cooper was a very successful black actor in the days when they were making black movies.
Okay.
And he went on. He was on the first show ever at the Apollo in 1934. So he was like unofficial mayor of Harlem.
Okay.
So he's holding court back there, and he's talking to Lou Rawls. He's looking over Lou's shoulder at me, and he's trying to figure out who I am. And, because I had put on a couple of pounds and lost my hair, and I wasn't as pretty as I was at 23. And so all of a sudden he says, "Billy Vera, come here, boy." And so I go over and he throws his arms around me. He said, "Welcome home, son." He said, he said, this is your home. I want everybody in this room to know what this man did when nobody else was doing it. And he told about me and Judy Clay. He says, "Your picture is in the lobby and it will always be there."
Wow.
And that was the first time.
What a very nice thing.
I almost cried, man.
Yeah.
But that was the first time it ever dawned on me that I had done something, important.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I just do what I do.
Right. That's a very good question, Drew. And that was part of the question that I was going to go with, because I wanted to ask, and you've already answered it, so I'm not going to double back over it. But I wanted to know that in 1968, when that song came out, what type of effect it had. And I wanted to also ask you, what you've already said, about the audience receipt of you coming for the first time.
Yeah.
Because just like, as you remember, Billy, and all of us do, back in the day when the black artists created a song, and the one that I'm particular that I keep going to so often is from the movie The Five Heartbeats, when they did their first one. It was either cartoons or white people sitting on the beach, or it wasn't them. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that this had to happen to you because of the time frame, and that song, Storybook Children, is a legendary song. Legendary song.
So in Jamaica, it was number 1 for 13 weeks.
Okay.
In Jamaica, and a bunch of reggae artists have recorded reggae versions of Storybook Children.
Yes.
It's interesting to hear what somebody else does with it. But I mean, the funny thing was, it could have been otherwise if it had been me and Nona, who was a pretty girl.
Okay.
How would a black audience have responded in 1968 to a fairly decent looking white guy with a pretty black girl?
Right.
In the same, in other words, did they accept it because Judy was not an attractive woman? Did that have something to do with it? I don't know.
Okay.
You don't know.
That's a very interesting question. But Billy, I sort of lean toward the musical aspect because of the fact that it was a great song, and it's one of those songs that once it gets in your ear and you see who the players are, it doesn't matter as long as you're singing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. Good question, Drew. Very good question. DD, come on in, babe.
Now, Billy, how did you get into acting?
That was through Chip Taylor's brother. Now, I knew Chip Taylor's brother was an unknown actor when I met him, named John Voight.
Yeah.
And we went to his first movie as friends to support him, and it stunk. But he was a great actor, and we knew that because I'd seen him in a play. And his next movie, Midnight Cowboy, made him a star. And so when I came out, that was in the 60s. So I moved to California in 79. And that's when I started the band. And one night, we were playing the Troubadour, a famous club there, every Monday night at midnight. And one night, in comes John Voight, who I hadn't seen in like 10 years. And he comes backstage with his acting teacher, who was a guy named David Proval. He was on The Sopranos, if you ever watched that.
Okay.
Yep.
He was the guy that married Sopranos' crazy sister.
Okay.
So there they are. So John says to me, he says, "Man, Billy, I haven't seen you sing in about 10 years." He said, "You're doing something up on that stage that I've never seen a singer do." I said, what are you talking about, John, man? He said, most singers get out there and they say, hello, LA, hello, Atlanta, it's all that phony showbiz stuff. He says, you don't do anything. It's not real. He said, you just lay it out there. And if the audience accepts what you're doing, then that's on them.
Yeah.
He said, you should be an actor. I said, John, I'm not good looking like you, man. Who's going to hire me? He said, you ever heard of James Cagney?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
That's a good one.
They made a pretty good living.
Yeah, good point.
He talked me into going to the acting class.
Okay.
And I thought it was going to be BS, but no, these guys that were up on that stage, they were doing something that was real. And so I stayed, and I kept coming back until I got the nerve to get up there myself and try it out.
Okay.
And little by little, I learned, and then people started asking me to be in plays and a couple of little TV spots, Cop Number 3 or something like that. And
okay.
And then I movies, so that's how that started. Almost, I was forced into it.
Good question.
Wow.
Good question there, DJ. Good question. Come on, Russell.
Yes, Billy. I want to go back where Drew and Ali was talking. As you look back, do you feel that the collaborations with the interracial duets help challenge the racial barriers in the popular music?
Oh, good question.
That is a good question. Well, in those days, Petula Clark couldn't hold Harry Belafonte's hand on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, yeah. Now, I'm not the kind of person that assumes the worst of people, but a friend of mine who does. At the time, he was interviewing me for a magazine, and he said something I never thought of. He said, "You realize that you had the hit on Storybook Children, and Nancy Sinatra and her producer sang the song on Ed Sullivan. You had the hit. You and Judy had the hit on Country Girl City Man." And here comes who was it? Peter Lawford and Minnie Pearl singing Country Girl City Man.
Wow.
Later Andy Williams and Tina Turner sang it, but that was maybe a year or two later.
Okay.
So he attributed that to, that maybe the advertisers down south, didn't want to see us on national television, and that may be true. I don't know. I have a belief that people get put on television because of how many behinds they put in the seats.
Yeah,
Yes.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And nobody knew who we were, so I didn't want to think that people were still thinking like that. But the one thing that, and again, I don't attribute it to, after Martin Luther King died, was killed, murdered, there was that changed a lot of attitudes. And I noticed that people, Black people and white people, the manner of dress changed radically.
Okay.
you know, the hippies started coming with the fringe and the bell bottoms and the this and the that, and black people, the lapels got wider, you know,
Okay.
and the
Okay.
colors got louder, and the clothes. In other words, both groups, they to my eyes, because I like people to look sharp, man. You know,
Right.
I came up in that generation.
Okay.
But to me, people were starting to look like clowns.
Okay.
You know,
And
I,
you contribute that to the music, Billy?
I attribute that to a lot of things that combined and crashed together to create this radical change in society. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Martin Luther King was definitely a factor.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you could see it. You know, I was known in Harlem because of you know, our success at the Apollo, and because I had played in clubs in the Bronx and Harlem and was kind of known. You know, I was people oh, there's that Billy, you know, but not suddenly, but almost overnight, a lot of, especially younger black people, were saying, man, they killed Martin. Well, to hell with you, man. You don't like us. You don't want us. We don't want you. And so then this music, this wonderful music, rock and roll and rhythm and blues, had brought people together to this point where, wow, it's going to be great from now on.
Okay.
And then bang, no more Martin. And then the races started spreading apart, and the music was that white people listened to was vastly different than what most black people listened to.
Okay.
You know, in the late 60s, early 70s, starting then, you know, black people were listening to James Brown, Curtis Mayfield, and all that. And white people, I don't know what they were listening to, because I wasn't listening to what white people listened to. You know? But that's me.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
my taste. I think my taste in black music came because I was a customer at this cool little black-owned record store in White Plains called the Boss Record Shop. It was a little short guy owned it with big old glasses and a flat top afro. He called himself Dr. Pill. and he said, you come in. He said, you know, I need some help. He said, why don't you come here on weekends and work in the store? I said, okay, I'll do that. And he, you know, paid me $1 an hour, $1.25 an hour, whatever it was, and a half price on the records I would buy, which was what I really wanted, the records.
Okay. Okay.
I was a record junkie. But he said, now listen, he said, they're gonna come in here, your customers, and they don't know who's singing the song. They know the song, but they don't know the name of the song. They don't know who's singing it. You got to figure out from what they ask you what they're looking for. So I think I passed the test right away. Some girls came in, oh, play that new, what was it? Play that new Jackie Wilson record. And I knew Jackie didn't have a new record out, but there was a record out by Edwin Starr called Stop Her on Sight.
Okay.
And it sounded like Jackie. So I
it does. Yeah.
Record. In those days, you could play the record on the turntable.
Right. Right.
And that's it. Yeah. Give me a call, you know?
Okay.
I'll tell you the funniest thing that happened to me at that store. You know, I would play records for people, you know, customers, and I could tell after a while, I could tell by the way you dressed, you know, I could tell by the way you walked, what your music was.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
I knew a Horace Silver fan is going to, you know, dress one way.
Right.
You know? And I knew a James Brown fan was going to dress another way. I'll tell you the first funny thing. I had one guy, old guy. He must have been 90 years old drunk. Every Saturday morning he'd come in. Billy, play me a hot one. Now what he was saying was, play me a blues.
Okay.
Because, you know, blues was for older people at that
yes.
time.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so I would play him a blues, and he'd be happy. He'd pay for it and walk away. Well, one week we didn't have any new blues records. So now my job is to sell records. So he said, Billy, play me a hot one. So I played him the other side of a Jimmy Reed record that he had bought about a month earlier.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
And I didn't feel like I was ripping him off. You know, I felt like it was the process that mattered to this fellow.
That's cool. That's
You know
great.
what I mean? It was a ritual. It was his Saturday ritual.
Right,
Now,
right.
My other story from the record store, the distributor comes in one day and he's got a record out, an album. This was an album by Billy Stewart. I liked Billy Stewart.
Okay, Fat Boy.
Yeah, Fat
Me
Boy.
too.
Unique singer. Unique. Anyway, he says, put this on the turntable. And I had about 3 or 4 customers, you know, and I'm playing this first cut on the record, and they start coming over to the turntable, reaching in their pocket for their little money. I said, man, this is a great record. He said, he goes up to me like real conspiratorially, you know. He says, "How many you want?" Now, I knew this thing was going to sell, so I took a chance. Might have cost me my job. I said, "Give me 25." Now we never sold 25 copies of an album before in that store.
Right.
So, but the next day they were gone.
Okay.
Next day,
Okay.
so he calls up. He says, "You want more?" I said, "Give me 100."
Yeah.
I'm telling you, in White Plains, if you walk down any block where Black people live, that album was coming out of the window.
Okay.
Billy Stewart's Summertime album.
Okay. Yeah. Big hit. Big hit.
Big hit,
Big hit. Very big hit.
man. And the album was even better because it was like this weird combination of jazz and R&B, because the musicians were all Chicago jazz fellows.
Right.
And so you got that you know, Booker Little and people like that. So you had that. Billy was singing in front of those kind of musicians,
Right. Right.
less sophisticated. So to this day, I still listen to that album.
Cool. Cool. Great question there, Russell. Great question. Great question. We got some good ones here, man. With some real good question. Billy, I want to double back. Because we're sort of coming close to the time here. I want to double back. I think it was on DD's question. Ask you, is there anything in this business that you have not accomplished? Let me rephrase that by saying to you, what would you like to accomplish before you say, I'm done?
Well, you know, I always say the market will decide when I'm done.
Yeah, true enough. True enough.
You know, I'd like to do some acting again. You know, but the one of the reasons I stopped acting, there was 2 reasons why I stopped acting. One was because I wasn't, my agents had left the business, and the guys that took their place, they didn't know I was a real legitimate actor. They just thought I was a singer with a hit record that wanted to act. And so they sent me for those kind of parts, and they were so boring. You know, you're basically a sitcom, and you're basically handing straight lines to the star.
Okay.
And that's not fun. And the last one I did was an episode of Baywatch. It's a silly story, and I won't waste your time telling it. But basically, Hasselhoff had to come and save me from being drowned at the end. But that was sort of, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm making money now doing voiceovers. I started doing that, and I could make more money in a half hour at CBS than I can make all week on Baywatch.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, being basically lazy by nature, that would appeal to me.
I got you. Okay, we got one more. I'm thinking we're gonna try to squeeze in one more round of conversation. Drew, what you got?
Billy, I see here you've received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and I believe that's for the Ray Charles album. Can you talk a little bit about that and the feeling you got? I mean, man, your name on the Hollywood. I mean, you've done so much in your career, man. It's that Hollywood Walk of Fame and your Grammy in 2013.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that period?
Sure. Well, Ray, as I said earlier, being a particular hero of mine, I studied up on him. I got to record him actually on a duet with Lou Rawls. And
wow.
Yeah, that's another story. But
is that Save the Bones for Henry Jones?
No, that was done years ago. But
okay.
No, that was with Johnny Mercer, I believe.
Okay.
No, we did. I picked an old Sam Cooke song for him called "That's Where It's At."
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
Because I wanted to do that because Lou had sung on "Bring It On Home to Me."
Right.
Right. Sam.
Right.
They grew up together.
Oh.
Yeah. In fact, they came to LA together. That's when the terrible accident that Lou almost died. Yeah. Where was I?
About Lou and Ray Charles.
Ray Charles. Yeah. So because of my love for Ray Charles, I studied everything about him musically and everything. So I ended up, I've written probably about 7 or 8 liner notes for Ray Charles albums and CDs.
Okay.
I finally get one. A buddy of mine, they were going to put out the complete ABC Paramount singles as in a 5 CD box set. So would you write that? So I said, yeah, and I knocked it out. I did a good job, I thought. I mean, how many times can you write about Ray Charles? But I wrote specifically about that period of his career. And so I got the gig. So now Grammy time, and I'm nominated, man. I had been nominated about 3 times before that, but I never won.
Okay.
So I got a little girlfriend of mine to go down with me, and I got a guy that was a fan of mine who was a limo driver. He said, "Let me drive you, baby." I said, "Okay." So he not only drove us, but he borrowed a Rolls Royce to bring us to the Grammys, man.
Wow.
So but we were late because the girl that was supposed to do my girlfriend's hair was late. So we're driving 70 miles downtown, an hour down there, and I'm running up. I was just about sitting down in my seat when they called my name. And I said, oh my God. So I run down the aisle and the girl's following me with a little iPhone camera taking a picture.
Okay.
Said, you won, baby. You won. The whole audience is laughing,
That's awesome.
And I got up there and I said, oh boy. Oh yeah, it was a great thrill because a lot of my friends had Grammys, and I've always been a late bloomer, I guess.
That's awesome. That's a great story, Billy. That's a great story. Good question, Drew. DD, come on in, babe.
Now, Billy, I saw that you did a documentary, Harlem to Hollywood.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, they a friend of mine who was a director wanted to direct a film about basically my career as much as you could fit in 90 minutes. But they had no budget. So it was really difficult, but we got a lot of cool people in, Dolly came in, she filmed something down at her home studio in Nashville, Dionne Warwick, Richard Roundtree, my homeboy. And
wow.
Yeah. Timmy from the Manhattan Transfer, Joey D from the Starlighters.
Right.
A lot of them came in the film and so said what they had to say about me and we had I remembered that this kid, he was a kid then, took footage of me and Judy at the Apollo.
Wow.
Yeah, color footage. So I tracked him down and I said, Kevin, you wouldn't by any chance have that footage. He said, yeah, man, I got it in a warehouse back in New York. And he got it. So you probably don't know this, but most people don't take what they call vaudeville.
Right.
They don't take it seriously. They never took it seriously. It wasn't serious music. It was showbiz. So you see very little in the way of film, of vaudeville acts. And the Apollo was one of the last great vaudeville theaters.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I defy you to find footage of anybody at the Apollo, even the great stars.
Okay.
This kid took, so what we have, courtesy of this kid Kevin, is historical footage. And he shot 2 shows. He shot one from the center of the theater, and then he shot one from the wings. The next show, so I'm wearing a different suit. But it was
cool.
Great.
That's very cool, man. That's historic. Very, very good historic stuff.
You can see that on Amazon Prime or Tubi.
Okay.
It's called Hollywood, the same title as my memoir.
Okay. Good question, DD. Restful, come on in with it, and then we're gonna do our goodbyes.
Yes. Your song "Mean Old World," it ended up being recorded by Ricky Nelson. How did that come about, and what did that moment mean to you?
Well, it meant a lot in that it was the first song I ever took to a publisher. My little band and I had made a record, and one side of it was a song I wrote. And so the record company later, after our record failed, they said, man, that's a good little song. You got any more songs? I said, yeah. He said, well, take it into this guy over here, and maybe he can get something recorded. So I played him 4 or 5 songs. He picked 2 of them, and he paid us to do a demo. And a couple of weeks later, now I'm naive at this point. I'm a kid, so I figured everything's going to happen right away. Well, but it's a few weeks. So now, I'm getting a little attitude, There's only a young person. So he called me up. He said, hey, man, I got a record on one of your songs. I said, really, who? Joe Blow? Like some unknown guy. He said, no. I said, what, the B side? He said, no, the A side. I said, well, who's the artist? He said, Ricky Nelson.
Wow.
And I said, Ricky Nelson, he's white. I had written this song for this new girl. I had heard one record by this new girl, and I said, I wrote the song for this girl. Her name was Dionne Warwick.
Okay.
I didn't know at the time that she was tied up with Burt Bacharach and Hal David as her songwriters.
Okay, gotcha.
I was hoping that she would record it.
Right.
But then when Ricky cut it, he said, "You ungrateful little song."
Okay.
You understand? Ricky's going to do your song 5 weeks in a row on the Ozzie and Harriet show. You're going to get paid for that, boy.
Made you straighten up. And think about it.
Yeah, man, I learned a little lesson there.
Yeah. Good question, Russell. Good question. Billy, we're going to go around and say our goodbyes because we're running close to time. Drew, why don't you start off, if you would, please?
Billy, thank you so very much for joining us. Man, you are, I can see why you're known as a historian. You're a bona fide music connoisseur. I applaud you, sir, for the career you've had, and you continue to make, and we hope to have you back for part 2. Thank you so much for joining.
Apropos of what you just said, Father McCann, the history teacher in my high school class, once stood up in front of the whole class and he said, William, your mind is a veritable warehouse of useless knowledge.
Wow. We have the last laugh now.
Get to what you said.
Come on in, DD.
Billy, it was a pleasure meeting you and talking to you. And like Drew said, we hope you come back for part 2.
I certainly will, Dee. Great to be with you too. You all
Come on in, Russell.
Yes, I concur. Thank you too, Billy. I appreciate you sharing your stories with us. And I do see you both as a performer and a historian of the
Oh,
American music. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, my brother, it's been great talking to you, and I'm glad we reconnected, man, because we got more stories to tell and more adventures, if you will, in this music business to share with people. But I remember, I don't even know who it was, but I remember somebody telling me my brain was full of useless information as well. But it's got me this far. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
It's got me this far, so it must be useful to somebody. You know, I know it's at least useful to DD, Drew, and Restful. It's at least useful to them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, my brother, I wish you the best as usual, and being in the coming up on Thanksgiving, I wish you a great Thanksgiving. We will be in touch. I promise you, I'll keep in touch with you, and we have to do this again. We have, because we barely scratched the surface on
Just
some of
let-
your adventures, man. Barely scratched the surface.
Just
I
let me
just
know.
found out. I just found out that and I think it was a professor who's listening, that Michaell J. Fox and the young lady Ellen are married and still married. I just
Still
found
married,
that out.
still
Yeah,
married.
Yeah.
And
yeah, still
Yeah,
married. Yeah,
he's got
yeah,
Parkinson's, and so
yes,
she's still
yes,
by him.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that was a happy coming together, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yes, it most certainly was. Most certainly was. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had the legendary Billy Vera visit us tonight, and we hope that you enjoyed it. Everybody, music lovers, let's give Billy a nice round of applause, if you would, please. Come
Oh
on.
yeah.
Take a bow. Thank you, everybody.
We'd like everybody, we're extending everybody to have a great weekend and a great Thanksgiving. And again, rule number one: eat as much as you want to. Never mind what somebody says. Eat as much as you want to. Okay, eat until your fruit balloons roll up on you, babe. That's what I'm saying to you. All right.
What I want to know is who's cooking.
Listen, somebody's cooking somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's cooking somewhere. So have a great Thanksgiving. Have a good weekend, everybody. God willing, we will see you all pretty soon again. DD, have a good one. Drew, have a good one. Restful, have a good one. Billy, I
Thank
love you, my
you.
brother. Be safe.
Love you too, man.
Everybody take care and have a good time.
Yes. Thank you. You also. Bye-bye.
All right.
All right.
Billy, I tell you, you still got the groove, baby. You still got the groove.
Still got the news.
Yeah.